This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it today and forever. Psalm 118:24. Good morning, children. Welcome back to computer science class. Hope you all are safe by God's grace. Okay, so before getting into the lesson, let's do a quick recap on what we saw in the last 2 weeks' lesson. Okay, so let's do a small recap. So now we are going to deal with chapter 14. So earlier we were dealing with chapter 13 and we are going to do a quick recap on it. And what is the last lesson we saw about? Python and CSV files. So let's do a quick recap on Python and CSV files. What did we learn about it? Okay, here is a small mind map for you to see and learn and do a quick recap. Okay, come children. So chapter 13, Python and CSV files. First topic is we learnt about the difference between Excel and CSV file. And then we saw about there are two ways to read CSV file. CSV module writer and the other topic is CSV module reader. And next to that we saw about delimiters. So what are delimiters? Comma separated values. Either it can be comma or a pipe symbol. So that is called as delimiters. And next to delimiters we saw about dict reader. What is a dict reader? The Python converts the CSV files with the help of a dictionary, that is called as dict reader. And now we saw about a dialect. So what was a dialect? Whenever we install a new or register a new kind of delimiter, we used to load it up. So that is called as a dialect that has to be imported whenever we are using a CSV file to import a Python program. Okay, this is all about we saw, and then we also saw about small examples for each and every topics. Okay children, this is a recap about chapter 13. And now let's get into today's lesson. So now we saw about earlier Python and then CSV. Now we are going to see about C++ and Python. So you already learned C++ last year and now we are learning Python now. We are going to see how to combine C++ into Python. Correct. Okay. So now this is chapter 14. The heading is importing C++ programs to Python. So how to import a C++ program to Python. Correct. Okay. And now we are going to see what are the topics we are going to list today. That is see or learn today. Today's lesson. Today's lesson is about the first one is Python versus C++. We are going to see a difference and then what is called as a scripting language. And next to scripting language we are going to see about applications of scripting language. And next to applications we are going to deal with features of Python over C++. And then last we are going to see about how to import C++ files into Python. So Python versus C++, scripting language, application of scripting language, features of Python over C++, importing C++ files in Python. These are the 5 topics we are going to cover for today's lesson. Okay. So what is the first one we saw? The first one is about Python and C++, the difference. So what is the difference? We are going to see it one by one. The difference between Python and C++. Okay. Let's get into the first difference. So what is the first difference? What can be the first difference? Correct. So Python is typically an interrupted language. So Python is a interrupted language. And C++ is a typically compiled language. So Python is a interrupted language and C++ is a compiled language. Okay. So what is the next thing? The next topic is, again we are going to see the difference. So Python is a dynamic typed language and then C++ is a compiled statically typed language. So what is dynamic? I told earlier. Dynamic and what is static? We have some movements that is called as dynamic. And what is static? There will not be no changes. That remains the same. So that is called as static. Okay, dynamic and then static. Okay. So the third one, we have about 4 to 5 differences. And let's see the third difference now. So data is not required while declaring a variable. So while declaring a variable, data is not required. So here data is required for C++ while we are declaring a variables. Okay. And then, okay, what is the last difference we are going to see? The last difference is it can act as both. So when you take Python, it can act both as scripting and then general purpose languages. But C++, it's only a general purpose language. It's not a scripting language. Okay. So these are the 4 differences. I repeat. So it is an interpreted language, it is a compiled language. We have to compile the C++. So Python, it's not required to compile it. And then Python is dynamic typed language. C++ is a compiled statically typed language. Data type is not required here in Python. Data type is required in C++. It can act as both scripting and general purpose language. It is a general purpose language alone. So this is an important 5-mark question. Python and then C++. Okay, next to Python and C++, what the picture says here? Yeah, the second topic is scripting language. We are going to see what is a scripting language. If you just keenly watch it, children, scripting language is quite easier when you compare it with the programming language. Yes. So let's see what is a scripting language. So what would be a scripting language? You can just think. Yes, a scripting language is a programming language designed for integrating and communicating with other programming languages. So when you want to communicate with other programming languages, we are using scripting language. Okay. So and then next, some of the widely used scripting languages are, what are the widely used scripting languages? Visual Basic, that is VB Script, PHP, Perl, Python we are learning now, and Ruby, ASP, TCL, all these are examples of scripting languages. So since a scripting language is normally used in conjunction with another programming language, they often also found with, what are the other things? HTML, Java or C++. It can be also used with HTML, Java or C++. So these are not a scripting languages. Okay. So this is all about what is a scripting language. It's designed to integrate and communicate with other programming languages. Correct. Okay. So scripting languages. So next to scripting languages, we are going to see what is the difference between scripting and programming languages. So we are talking about programming, C++, Java, Python. Now let's see what is the difference between scripting and then programming concept, that is programming languages. There is only slight difference, children. So when you take scripting languages, here compilation is not required, and for programming you need a compilation. That is why this picture is placed here to see both are nearly same and only one part we are just doing in the compilation part. Okay, that is the difference between scripting and programming languages. Okay, so now let's see the definition of it. So how does it differ? We told it is differing in compilation, and now we have to see how it is getting differed. Okay. See, a scripting language requires an interpreter. Whenever we are using a scripting language like Python, it has to be an interpreter. While a programming language requires a compiler. So programming languages C++ you learnt last year, that is run with an compiler. But Python or scripting languages runs with an interpreter. A given language can be called as a scripting or programming depending upon the environment we are using. Environment in sense in computer terms depending upon the platform that we are going to use. Okay, that is all about the difference between scripting and programming languages. So here you see one more option. What is this? Markup language. Do you remember what is markup language? You might have learnt in your lower classes. Yes, markup language can be HTML. So markup language is HTML. This is an additional information. It can act as programming language, scripting language as well as markup language. Okay, that's the slight difference over here between scripting and then programming languages. Okay, now we are going to see where are the scripting languages applied, applications of scripting languages. Okay, to automate certain task in a program. When we want to perform some task in a program, there we are going to use a, yes, scripting languages. Extracting information from a data set. When we want to extract some data. So there we are using extracting information from a data set. And then less code intensive as compared to traditional programming language. So we are using less code here. So not more code, we are using less code compared to traditional programming languages. Can bring new functions to application. So it can bring new functions to applications and glue complex systems together. So it can also work with complex systems together. So 4 points, 4 applications to automate, yes, certain task in a program, extracting information from a data set, less code is being used, and it also can bring new functions and then glue complex applications together. Glue complex applications together. So these are the 4 important applications of scripting languages. Okay, what's the next one we are going to see? Again, we are going to see about applications of scripting languages. So how Python is going to be used over here. See here, Python is actually an interpreted high-level general purpose programming language that can be used on any modern computer operating system. So whatever the current operating system, it can be used. It can be used for processing text. So it's used for processing text, numbers, images, scientific data, and just about anything else you might save on the computer. So whatever we are saving on the computer, there you can use Python as an either high level general purpose interpreted programming language. Okay, see nowadays large applications are written almost in Python. So if you take many, I'm repeatedly telling, so Python is mainly used for storing huge databases and then to import the or filter the particular data from there. So that is the main use of Python, large applications. So scripting language. So the scripting language, the symbol is denoted like this. So how we write a coding, you should have a, yes, a greater than symbol, or this can also be called as a mode for scripting language. This is a mode for scripting language where we will see it when we are using it in the computer. This is a scripting prompt or the command prompt. Okay, this is the applications of scripting languages. Okay, what we are going to see next, you see the picture on the top. What does it say? Python and C++. So now we are going to see how the Python is taking over C++. So features of Python over C++. See, Python uses automatic garbage collection. So Python has an automatic garbage collector where C++ does not have it. Okay, and then C++ is statically typed language. I told it is not a dynamic language, it is a statically typed language, while Python is a dynamically typed language. So now obviously the users will go for a dynamic and not a static one. Okay, so that is why here the second feature comes as a static and dynamic. Python runs through an interpreter. So Python runs through an interpreter, but C++ needs a pre-compiled one. C++ needs a pre-compiler. Here it has gone through an interpreter. Correct. Okay. So next, Python code tend to be 5 to 10 minutes. So when you compare the coding, we saw in advantages, when you compare the coding, the Python coding is 5 to 10 times shorter than C++. We will be writing a long program for C++ to find out a factorial or a Fibonacci series. But if you see in Python, it is only a 2-line coding. So what happens? Even in Python coding, the coding also is very less when you compare it with C++. Correct. And then in Python, there is no need to declare types. So like integer or character, it is not required to declare it. Whereas it should be done in C++. Yeah, you all know, but in C++ when you are doing factorial sums or finding the sums or finding the square root, you have to declare the number as number and character as the character. Okay. And then declaration is not required. In Python, a function may accept an argument of any type. and return multiple values without declaration. So again, without declaration, it also returns the values to us. Whereas C++ return statement can return only one value. So C++ can return only multiple value of the data, but Python can return multiple values, not one value but multiple values. So that is why Python is overtaking C++. These are the features of Python. Okay. And now we are going to see about how we are going to import a C++ files in Python. That is the whole lesson is about. Now we are going to deal with how we are going to import a C++ files in Python. See here, importing C++ program in a Python program is called as a wrapping of C++ in Python. What is wrapping? We are making it short. Wrapping or creating Python interfaces for C++ are done. It can be done in many ways. There are not only one way, it can be done in many ways. Okay, see here, Python C API application program, that is API is application programming interface for interfacing with C programs. So C API, this C API is used for interfacing a C program. And C types, what is C types? The data types for interfacing with the C programs. So SWIG, what is SWIG? Simplified Wrapper Interface Generator. So it is SWIG, Simplified Wrapper Interface Generator. What is wrapper? It means wrapping of a text, both for C and C++. And what is Python? The Python is both Python-like languages. So this is also one kind of Python-like programming concept. And Boost.Python. What is a Boost.Python? It is a framework for interfacing Python and then C++. And the last one is Minimalist GNU. What is GNU? GNU is also one kind of compiler that we are using for a program. This is also one kind of compiler that we are using for a Windows program. GNU is one kind of compiler. So these are the different ways that you can import the C++ programs into or files into Python. So API, C types, Swig, Python, Boost.Python, MinGW. Okay, these are the different ways to import a C++ files into a Python. Okay, so now we are going to see again the first concept, MinGW. Okay, minimalist. What is called as minimalist? See here, MIN, that is MinGW, refers to a set of runtime files used in compiling and linking a code of C, C++ and Fortran. So C, C++ and Fortran are called as, yes, correct, programming languages. Okay, see here, the version of MinGW is the best compiler for C++ on Windows. To compile and execute C++ program, you can also use G++ for Windows. When we are using, we can use G++ for Windows. And then MinGW allows to compile and execute C++ programs dynamically. Repeatedly I am telling C++ dynamically. Earlier we saw about C++ is only static, but now C++ dynamically Python program using G++. This G++ is used to run the program dynamically. Okay. So now Python program contains C++ coding, can be executed only through. So we are going to execute it only with the help of MinGW. And then run terminal. The run terminal open the command line. So the command line prompt is open and Python program is run through the command line. So MinGW act as a best compiler for Windows C++, and then Python also contains MinGW 64 project to run the terminal. These are the two important things you have to remember when you learn about MinGW, that is minimalist. Okay. And then next we are going to see about executing C++ program to Python. How we are going to execute a C++ program. See, first we have to double click the run terminal, go to the folder Python software where it is located, and then for example if Python is located in programs OpenOffice Python, Then what you should do, the syntax should be C colon and then that prompt symbol is used and you have to locate it by CD absolute path. What is absolute path? The C program files OpenOffice 4 Python is called as the absolute path. Two steps. So double click the run terminal, go to the folder where python.exe file is stored and then you have to type the syntax CD and you have to bring the path to the absolute path. Okay, these are the first two steps. And after doing it, what happens? How we are going to execute it. See how we are executing it. Once after you do it, what happens here? CD, the prompt is given, program files, OpenOffice, Python. So whatever the program has been stored here will be displayed in the command prompt or the run prompt window. Once after it is displayed, you can enter your inputs and you can get your output. This is the command prompt how to execute a C++ program. Okay. And now this is the last thing, executing C++ program through Python. Third process. To execute our program, double click the run terminal, change the path to the Python folder location. How to do the syntax? See here, Python filename.py. So like C++ will be using .cpp as an extension. Here you have to use .py. Okay, and then where this Python stands for a keyword and filename.py is name of the Python program and C++ file extension is CPP. So name of the C++ file to be compiled and then executed. Python, the file name of Python and -i stands for input mode and C++ file name with CPP extension. This is how you have to store or execute the data. Okay, and then now we are going to see how it is executed. Okay, see here, Python, here the program, this is a Python programming because it has .py and C program, py program, PALI. This is PALI short form for palindrome. So you have to make sure the Python coding and C++ coding is in the same folder. If they are not in the same folder, the programs, then you have to specify the whole path. Okay, that's it. So now they are giving a positive number, the reverse of a number. They are checking whether a number is a palindrome or not. If it is a palindrome, it's displayed as palindrome. If it is not a palindrome, it's displayed here as not a palindrome. This is how to execute a C++ program through Python. This is all about for today's lesson, children. Hope you understood the lesson. We saw about 5 concepts: scripting language, differences, application, features, and how to import a Python program or C++ program using Python and few syntax. Okay, please do remember them. And I want you to take up your test and Kahoot on time. Many students are missing it. Please do take up your test and Kahoot on time and come for live teaching Zooms. It is a very good opportunity. You are missing it up. Only I am seeing few faces. Please try to come for live teaching sessions. Thank you, children. Stay safe. Don't go out. Have a great day. Thank you.